Unfortunately, we're reaching the end of the night. We have one more presentation though. This last presentation is actually not from a scientist. It's from a self-defined Canadian goose. I'm kidding. He really is a scientist and is one of the best ones. This is Brendan Battersby, and he has something amazing to tell about our vision. Please welcome Brendan.
I hope everyone's having a great time. Since I'm the last speaker, I get a few liberties. Because we have the time till 8:30, is that right? Thanks. But what I'd like to do first is to thank all the volunteers from Science Basement for putting on this event. So let's give them a round of applause. Next, we need to thank all of you because the event sold out, so thank you. So there's a familiar saying, it's all in the genes. That means, in other words, our predisposition to a particular trait is determined by the DNA we inherit from our biological mother and father. But what are genes, and what do they do? Well, I hope to tell you, in the next 9 minutes, a short story on how this process unfolds in our body, right now as I speak, how mistakes happen naturally all the time, and how those mistakes get fixed. So you know, DNA on its own doesn't do much. You can find it everywhere. Bones, fossils. Actually, it's all around here. It's when your skin flakes off. That's called dandruff. To be alive, though, our genes need to be expressed. Imagine a biological printing press. Expressed genes are like a set of written instructions. Instructions always need to be read. Much like language, there is a code or syntax to it, and it creates meaning. In other words, communication. In the wrong order, the message or meaning is lost. First, some background on our DNA. Guess what? We have 2 types. One type we get equally from our biological mother and father. The other type we get just from our mom. And tonight, that is the one that's the star attraction. Reading the code of these maternal genes allows every single person in this room to breathe and use that oxygen to make energy, to power your bodies, to see, to walk, and basically do everything we do in our day-to-day lives. So here is a poster that many of you have seen, advertising tonight's Science Slam. If we read through the poster, we see that the letters form words, providing information that we interpret. Essentially, this is a code. For example, what is the event? What time is it happening? Where is it happening? And how much it's going to cost to get in? Lots of information. How then is the code in our genes read? Well, let me show you. Up here, what we have, this is a reading machine. Up top is the expressed gene. These machines need to read this and translate that information. This step is needed to actually make the energy in your bodies. But actually, long before we figured out how these machines worked, we developed another reading machine called a ticker tape. Pretty similar, isn't it? But what happens when there's a mistake in that gene? Let me show you. Now, looking at this poster again, we would not know how to process that information. We have no idea what the event is, where it's happening, or what time it's happening. We're stuck and confused. The big question is how often does this happen in our bodies? Or put another way, what is the fidelity of the biological printing press? Is it hi-fi, lo-fi, or somewhere in between? In my lab, we're using powerful new technology to figure out how often this happens and address how that affects the human body. Now, a little bit of interaction with all of you. Now let's consider what happens to these reading mistakes when the machine encounters a mistake in the code. Instead of showing you more images, I want to tap into your mind. I want to ask you to close your eyes and listen closely for the next minute or so.
Stop.
Open your eyes. So you just heard two iconic sounds. For some, sounds of beauty. For others, pure noise. So why did I choose these sounds and what is the meaning behind it? Well, the first is familiar to most of you as a racing car. In a way, that's what the machines that read the genetic code are like. They start, race, they build speed, go faster, 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 and then they hit a mistake and they stop! The second audio is a quintessential song of my youth. How many know the song and the band that's associated with the Pixies? Raise your hands, please. How many know the film that is from Fight Club? Please raise your hands. And how many have never heard the song before? Please raise your hands.
Well, I have heard it.
In the lyrics of the song, you hear Black Francis asking, where's his mind, as he contemplates a complex biological problem. In the film, the mind is also disrupted in different ways. When our biological machines get stuck reading the maternal genetic code, there are severe consequences to how our brain functions. Machines get stuck, but fortunately, we have a repair kit or a key. Think of it as a mechanic to an engine. When these machines get stuck, the key comes in and unlocks the process. The key is called MTRFR. Unfortunately, scientists have this propensity to name things using long, complicated jargon that they then abbreviate into an acronym and to try to pronounce, but ends up sounding like something stuck in your throat, just like you heard here. When the key or key does not work, what we can see as a poster starts to get distorted. Because what happens in these individuals is they start to progressively lose their vision, their ability to walk, play, essentially coordinate their body, because the brain regulates all of those processes. So in my lab, what we're trying to do is to understand how that machine and that key works, to unlock those reading machines when they get stuck. By doing that, we can use that knowledge to develop therapies so that we can restore the vision. And we can see what is telling us here. So we know where to go and be at choreo mode tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Brendan. Same as before and before. Do you have any questions for Brendan? You wonder?
So why do we have a maternal genome?
So it seems like if any animal that breathes oxygen has kept a maternal genome. Throughout evolution, we've seen examples where we try to get rid of it, but without success. So if you breathe oxygen, you need the maternal genome. Why, we still don't know.
Hello. Super amazing presentation. I just have a question. Once that you unlock the mechanism and you know how to use this key, how fast would it be to have a therapy? How fast is the transition from this knowledge to people?
So we have 2 therapies underway, one using drugs and one using gene therapy to try and fix this. So we can restore vision and also locomotor memory.
Thank you for the presentation. So my question is, so this works on people who had a functional vision system and then lost it, right? So it's to restore it. So it's like just the molecular path to detect the light and process the signal, if I understood.
Well, it's not just the eyes; it's also the whole nervous system.
Okay, but so my question was about the plasticity. I mean, it's maybe too further, but so do you think with time, when we restore this, we can kind of get back a certain plasticity to have a reconnection of the system? Because if you kind of lose the vision for a long time, you change the wiring in the brain. So if you think with time we could train somehow like the path of the signal and teach our system to analyze the signal like it used to be.
That's a deep question.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that would be fantastic, but I don't know. Yeah.
We don't know this guy. He's not from the same space, man.
All right, since I can ask my question,
Sure.
the last one. Can we utilize this technique then to the cancer, so that then the cancer cells are not able to read the information to multiply?
So actually, that's a good question because people are using certain drugs to actually target those machines in leukemias. So and because the cells need those machines to go, and they actually inhibit the machines. So yes.
All right. I'm afraid that we don't have any more time for more questions. So thank you so much, Brandon, again.